Hello, Dr. Nicola, and I am coming to share with you something that I have been playing with for a number of years now, and I was actually reminded by Yvonne Bentley, my NIA dance teacher, yesterday morning. As she was introducing a new routine, there was music that's a little different than we might normally dance to, and her invitation was to just listen to the music and move away from like and don't like, and just kind of be in a neutral space, even if this wasn't the music you typically listen to or something that you would enjoy or you like. And I'm so reminded, and it was just such a simple expression of this idea that has really brought me more peace. The past few years, there's been a lot of huge changes in my life, and without going into all of that right now, I've really had to deepen into myself, and I've also had to deepen into making peace. And this idea of making peace with what is, it's something we see on, tea mugs and notebooks and t-shirts and memes and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, that sounds so great. How the hell do you do that? And this one piece, this idea of checking the intensely conditioned response we have to instantly judge anything that comes into our perception from anywhere, from our sight, from our hearing, from our smell. It almost instantly categorized before we even consciously aware that we're doing it. Like, don't like, want, don't want, good, bad, right, wrong, will accept, will reject. It puts us in this really intense place of duality where we're constantly either grasping for more of what we like or working harder to avoid or get away from what we don't like. So what would happen if we could dissolve this idea of duality, dissolve this idea of something being in a category, being good or bad? And I'm here to tell you that when we can show up in neutrality, like genuinely from our heart go, oh, okay, this is what's here. Now, I can do that with my heart. That doesn't mean to say that my head isn't still making up stories. My head loves to make up stories. I have been deeply conditioned by my family system, by culture, by growing up on the East Coast, the school I was in, that being quick to judge, especially for me, like I'm a very fast processor. Not everybody is. Some people are slower processors. It means that I am constantly assessing and categorizing. And what I'm actually doing is I am cutting myself off from receiving the full experience that's here for me. And I'm also denying myself the gift of every situation, because I promise you, if this thing that is here in front of you, no matter how hard your mind is fighting against this idea, no matter what is here in front of you, there is a gift here for you if you are willing to show up and be with the thoughts and notice, oh, there's my judgment pattern. And you don't judge yourself for having judgment. You just notice it. And it becomes this very neutral way of, I guess, observing what's here. Oh, that's me judging. That's me averting. That's me wanting more of. And just noticing that, because that in and of itself starts to separate out this part of you that has learned to analyze and judge and criticize and assess from the essence of who you are, this self with a capital S, this divine essence, this golden heart, this whatever your concept is, whatever resonates for you, but the reality of who you are, which is a whole other topic of conversation, but who you really are is someone who is, has space and capacity to be with everything. And so step one is just noticing, oh, that's what I'm doing. Step two, it tends to be harder, which is why most of us will only kind of allow ourselves to stay in our mind, which is checking in with those emotions that come up. This tea went cold and I don't like cold tea. Therefore, I am not going to drink this tea, rather than, oh, the emotions that might, because it's kind of a silly example, so I'm trying to think of what emotions might come up. Maybe feeling unloved, like, oh, I had to work so hard to take care of everything this morning that I didn't have time to drink my tea when it was hot, and that's because there's nobody around to help me and I've got to do everything myself. And so again, that's a story, but there's also going to be emotions that come up with that around not feeling loved, feeling left out, feeling not good enough, feeling like no matter what I do or how hard I work, I don't receive the love that I'm looking for, the support, the nourishment. All of that might be wrapped up in your tea going cold. It may not, but so we get to be with those emotions too. And when we're with those emotions, and it's hard to do this, right? We don't know, none of us, very few of us have been taught how to really be with our emotions in a way that doesn't feel potentially destructive or like we're going to get inundated. But when we can do that, then we can really let ourselves feel what we're feeling, and we embrace that too. Again, but what we've been trained to do is most of us go back into that judgment mind, that place where, now I'm judging myself or criticizing myself for feeling the way that I feel. Well, that's dumb. It's just a cup of tea. That doesn't make any sense. Of course you're loved. Or maybe you're not loved and it's got nothing to do with the tea because it's because you're not good enough. So we end up in this vicious loop that as soon as we drop into those feelings, we're back into the mind. And so it keeps us in this dynamic of categorizing, judgment, and duality. And the key to having peace is truly learning how to show up and wade through those thoughts, see them for what they are, call them out to yourself, and then be with and embrace the emotions that those bring. When you do that, what you'll notice is that all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is just a cup of cold tea. It doesn't mean anything. Period, the end. This is just how this person showed up today. It doesn't have to mean anything about you. This is the diagnosis that someone I loved just received. It doesn't have to mean anything. Of course, this can be layered and it can be really hard, and it can trigger these parts of us that have also learned behaviors and strategies to cope with things that the mind judges as difficult or hard or sad. And it doesn't mean to say that we don't have emotional responses to things happening in our world, but it's different than categorizing this as that's so sad. I know I've got a situation in my own life going on that I truly have made peace with, and I'll just name it. I'm not trying to be mysterious here, but my son back in January he's 14, and he decided to live with his dad full time. And there have been many iterations and a lot of feels around this choice. Please don't get me wrong there. And now, most of the time, I feel a sense of peace around it. I really genuinely do. However, when I mention to other people that this is what's happening, I typically get, oh, well, that's sad, or that's a bummer, or are you okay, or that must suck, or, all of these well-meaning and lovely intentions and offerings. But again, it's what I'm noticing now is how that's putting me back into that place of, well, maybe this situation isn't okay, and maybe there's something wrong with me for thinking it is okay, or maybe I need to work harder to remedy the situation and get it back to how it should be, where we share time 50-50. All of these dances we get to do, even with something like my child leaving my home years earlier than expected, and maybe he'll come back. I genuinely don't know, but I have a lot more peace in this process because I am curious and I'm open, and I'm just kind of like, I wonder what this is for him. I wonder what this will create for me. For those of you who've been following me, I've been in a band and we've been playing a bunch of gigs. I've got a lot more time to play with music. I have a lot more time to connect with you all and my community. So there's been plenty of gifts that have come out of this. And maybe I'll do a different video about that another time. But my point is, being at peace, no matter what's here, comes with seeing things as they are. This is just what's here in this moment, catching ourselves in the thoughts and noticing and embracing the emotions, but not letting ourselves overdo it, I guess, or spend too much time because what happens is the emotions start feeding the stories and we stay in that loop. And just going and breathing in and going, Okay, given that this is what's here, what do I choose? And this puts us back in a position of empowerment and co-creation to create something that is beneficial, not just for ourselves, but for all. Hopefully this makes sense to you. If you are curious about this and have questions, please comment below. Let me know. Send me an email, send me a DM. I'm happy to join in and talk about this more. These are some of the topics that we jump in a little bit more in depth in our membership. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you're welcome to hop on over to puravitahealthcare.com and click on memberships, and you can come and have these kind of deep conversations, because I can tell you on my own journey, this has taken many years and a lot of guidance from my teacher to play with. And so don't spend too much time with what your mind is saying against it. Just see how it lands in your heart, in your body, and see if there's a resonance there. And if there's there, just let yourself feel that for now. Okay, thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.